Hello everyone, I'm Wade, your cinephile host. Audrey Hepburn was one of the most famous actors in Hollywood in the 1960s. The movie Breakfast at Tiffany's is one of her most popular films. Other films include Roman Holiday and Charades, to name a few. Hepburn plays Holly, a role that models after many typical American girls in real life at the time. A country girl who transforms into a Manhattan socialite. Early one morning, elegantly dressed Holly Golightly emerges from a taxi cab that pulls up in front of Tiffany flagship store, carrying a paper bag containing her breakfast. She looks into the store display, then strolls back to her apartment. Later, she is rudely awakened by her new neighbor, Paul Varjak, who rings her bell multiple times to try to get into the building. As Holly is going out later, she is introduced to Paul's decorator, a wealthy older woman whom Paul nicknames 2E. That night, when Holly goes onto the fire escape to elude an overeager date, she peeks into Paul's apartment and sees 2E leaving money and kissing him goodbye. Holly visits Paul afterwards and learns he is a writer.
9 Lives by Paul Varjak. They're stories.
9 of them.
Tell me one.
They're not the kind of stories you can really tell.
Too dirty?
I suppose they're dirty too, but only incidentally. Mainly they're angry, sensitive, intensely felt, and that dirtiest of all dirty words, promising.
1956 means that Paul hasn't had anything published since the book of 9 Lives 5 years ago. All this time, 2E has been financially supporting him. Holly learns of this but feels nothing particular because she is also financially being supported by someone else. Holly pays a visit to Sally Tomato, a mobster incarcerated at a jail named Sing Sing. Tomato's lawyer pays her $100 a week to deliver the so-called weather report, but she is required to show her bookings to Sally for him to check and keep track of her spending.
Mr. Fitzsimmons, powder room, $50. Less $18, repair 1 black satin dress, cat food 27 cents.
Sally, darling, please stop. You're making me blush. But you're right about Jack Fitzsimmons. He's an absolute rat. I guess, of course, I don't really know anybody but rats. Except, of course, Fred here.
Sometime later, 2E enters Paul's apartment, worried she's being followed. Paul investigates and eventually confronts Doc Golightly. Doc explains that Holly's real name is Lula May and that they were married when she was approaching 14. Now he wants to take her back to rural Texas. After Paul reunites Holly and Doc, she informs Paul that the marriage was annulled. At the Greyhound bus station, she tells Doc she will not return with him, leaving him broken-hearted. Holly is saddened for what she did to Doc, but she is striving to have a better and brighter future.
You know the terrible thing, Fred, darling? I am still Lula May. 14 years old, stealing turkey eggs and running through a briar patch. Except now I call it having the mean reds.
The mean reds is probably the most famous quote from the movie. This metaphor may be hard even for English native speakers like myself to figure out. Not to worry though, later on in the episode during the dialogue practice section, we'll see how Holly explains this phrase. I should mention, English, like every other language, evolves over time. For instance, we hear Holly say darling, often throughout the film. This used to be a common, endearing way to call someone. However, that has certainly changed in today's society. Anyway, let's get back to the movie. After Doc leaves, Holly holds Paul as a close best friend, but Paul began to fall in love with her. A few days later, Paul learns that one of his short stories will be published. Holly and Paul agree to spend the day together. At Tiffany's, Paul has the ring from Doc's box of Cracker Jack engraved as a present for Holly. After spending the night together, he awakens to find her gone. When Tu-yi arrives, Paul ends things with her. She calmly accepts this because she had already concluded and accepted the fact that he was in love with someone else.
Who is she?
Hasn't got anything to do with her. This is between you and me.
Oh, then it is serious. Well, now,
Hui, you're a very stylish girl. Can't we end this stylishly?
end it.
Yes.
Tu-yi signs a $1,000 check to Paul, but he refuses it and leaves. Holly's drive for money is what makes her choose men like Thraller, but he also married someone else for money. So, Holly now schemes to marry Jose, a Brazilian tycoon, for his money. But after she receives a telegraph notifying her of her brother's death in a Jeep accident, she freaks out and trashes her apartment. Months later, she invites Paul to dinner to bid him farewell as she prepares to leave for Brazil the next morning to continue her relationship with Jose.
Why did you want to see me?
Jose's in Washington for the night, so I thought if I asked you over, you might come. Well, I've said goodbye to everyone else I care about.
You're going somewhere?
I'm going to Rio tomorrow. I've got the plane ticket, and I've even said goodbye to old Sally.
But Holly and Paul are arrested later for their connection with Sally Tomato's drug ring, and Holly spends the night in jail. The next morning, Holly is released on bail. Paul waits in a cab outside to pick her up, bringing her cat and a letter from Jose explaining that he must end their relationship due to her arrest. Holly insists that she will go to Brazil regardless. Out of frustration, she asks the cab to pull over and pushes the cat out into the pouring rain. Just after they get underway again, Paul storms out of the cab, tossing the engraved ring into her lap, and tells her to examine her life.
You know what's wrong with you, Miss Whoever you are? You're chicken. You've got no guts. You're afraid to stick out your chin and say, okay, life's a fact. People do fall in love. People do belong to each other, because that's the only chance anybody's got for real happiness.
Holly takes a moment. As she puts on the ring, she realizes what she has wanted all along and runs after Paul in the rain, who has gone looking for the cat. Finally, Holly follows her heart. She finds the cat sheltering in an alley, and with it tucked into her coat, she and Paul embrace. I'm sure you've noticed Holly using darling multiple times in the film. Like I mentioned earlier, the English language evolves over time. Many terminologies and slang change over the years. Some are still used to this very day, whereas others are now history. Makes you wonder, what will the English language sound like 100 years from now, or even 50 years? Guess we'll have to wait to find out.
接下来 Ruby 要揭晓今天电影迷 Breakfast at Tiffany's 蒂凡内早餐要教我们些什么。那 Ruby, don't you just love the 60s? The colorful outfits, the music.
Yeah, very boss.
Wait, did you just say very boss? 非常老板
No, not 老板. That's actually a slang from the 60s. 在60年代 boss 可以代表很酷、极好的。
Oh, that's boss.
你知道60年代还有什么可以用来形容非常好的吗？
好像记得 bad 是 awesome 的意思，跟它本身的意思其实刚好相反。
不错嘛 I have the perfect 60s slang for you. You're out of sight. 你真行。
哦，谢啦。不过除了这些，有没有别的现在还广为使用的呢
Oh, have you heard of I call shotgun?
有我以前在美国常跟朋友用，但我们当然不是在讲枪嘛。请问 Ruby 可以解释一下它意思吗？
Yes, shotgun 是副驾驶座的意思，所以 I call shotgun 是我要坐副驾驶座，先说的人就可以抢到副座的位置。目前还是被广为使用的哦。
没错。Thank you Ruby， 今天带了我们认识了好多60年代的俚语。
No sweat， 别客气。
Well, I am Wade.
I'm Ruby.
I hope you have learned something useful in this episode of Cinephile as I did. You can find more on the Fun Day website.
Let's make every day a fun day.
It's like Tiffany's.
Tiffany's? You mean the jewelry store?
That's right. I'm crazy about Tiffany's. Listen. You know those days when you get the mean reds?
The mean reds. You mean like the blues?
No. The blues are because you're getting fat or maybe it's been raining too long. You're just sad, that's all. The mean reds are horrible. Suddenly you're afraid and you don't know what you're afraid of. Did you ever get that feeling?
Sure.
Well, when I get it, the only thing that does any good is to jump into a cab and go to Tiffany's. Calms me down right away. The quietness and the proud look of it, nothing very bad could happen to you there.